We have all these stories about where we come from. You've got science, you've got religion, but have you ever thought maybe, just maybe, they're missing a huge piece of the puzzle? Well, today we are diving into a really different story of human origins from the author Su Feng. It's this incredible mix of cosmology, spirituality, and a total reimagining of some figures you definitely thought you knew. Let's get into it. It's really the biggest question of all, isn't it? Where do we come from? Every single culture in history has tried to answer it, but today we're going to unpack an answer that really challenges our most basic assumptions. It's going to take us on a wild ride through a cosmic history you've probably never heard before. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the two big origin stories in the modern world. Then we'll see how the author tries to pick them apart using some pretty clever logical puzzles. After that, we're going to build up a whole new cosmic hierarchy, uncover a totally hidden history of humanity, and then, at the end, ask the big one. What's our purpose in all this? Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. Every civilization has come up with stories to make sense of why we're here, right? It's created this incredible tapestry of myths and theories over the centuries. You've got Pangu separating heaven and earth in Chinese myth, Prometheus sculpting humans out of clay in Greek legends, and hey, even modern ideas about aliens seeding life on Earth. The list just goes on and on. But for what we're talking about today, we're going to zoom in on the two narratives that really dominate the conversation now. According to our source material, two ideas really stand out from the rest in the modern world: Darwin's theory of evolution and the biblical story of creation. And these are the two pillars that are about to get a serious challenge, not with faith, but with logic. All right, let's get into the critique. These ideas aren't just brushed aside. Instead, the author uses the theory's own words to raise some really interesting questions. And we're starting with Darwin himself. So the whole critique kicks off with Darwin's own words. He basically set a test for his own theory, saying, look, if you can find a complex organ that couldn't have been formed by tons of tiny, gradual changes over time, then the whole thing falls apart. And that's the standard that's being used here. So based on Darwin's own test, two big challenges are presented. First up, the fossil record. If evolution is this super slow, gradual process, shouldn't we have, a clear, unbroken chain of fossils from ape to human? The author asks, where are they? And second, what about complex instinct? How does a process of slight modification explain how a bee just knows how to build a perfect honeycomb, or how a bird can navigate thousands of miles on its very first trip? The argument is that these things, they don't seem like the result of tiny, successive changes. Now, let's switch gears and look at the Bible. Here, another logical puzzle is pointed out, and it's right in the story of Cain and Abel. So after Cain kills his brother, he cries out to God, and he's not just sorry, he's scared. He's specifically afraid of other people. And this is the puzzle. If the only people on the entire planet were Adam, Eve, and now Cain, who exactly was he so afraid of? His parents? This one little line in Genesis is presented as a major crack in the story, suggesting that there must have been other groups of people already out there. Okay, so after raising all these questions about the big dominant theories, the source then presents a totally different cosmology, starting right from the very, very top of existence. At the absolute peak of this cosmic hierarchy is a being called the greatest creator. Now, this isn't just a god who builds stuff. This is described as the ultimate source of all energy and all consciousness in the entire universe, the very heart of existence itself. So the story goes like this. The greatest creator didn't really want to manage the whole universe alone, so it created gods to be its cosmic administrators. But then these gods got lonely and asked for companions. So the greatest creator made the angels, these beings with a slightly lower energy level, to serve the gods and, fill the cosmos with life. But this new creation ended up leading to a sort of cosmic civil war. In our little corner of the universe, two super powerful gods, Jesus and Satan, came to represent this fundamental duality. You had Jesus, who stood for truth, goodness, and light, and then Satan, who represented falsehood, evil, and darkness. This massive conflict split the angels into two camps. The ones who followed Jesus became known as heavenly immortals, and the ones who followed Satan were called Buddhas. So how does all this cosmic drama lead to, us? This is where the story gets really fascinating, because it suggests that there wasn't just one origin for people on Earth, but three totally separate ones. Let's walk through this hidden history, because it's a lot. It all starts about 4.5 billion years ago when the heavenly immortals on Jesus' side create Earth. For ages, it was a paradise. But then, 200 million years ago, Satan's followers show up and just cause chaos, creating dinosaurs and other nasty creatures. Then, much later, about 1.6 million years ago, the heavenly immortals engineered the first wave of humans. And then, get this, just in the last few thousand years, two other human lines pop up, descendants of dragons in Asia, and finally, Adam and Eve, who were apparently created by a different god on Satan's team. So this table breaks it all down into those three distinct groups. The first wave humans, created by the good guys, the heavenly immortals, are supposedly the ancestors of people in Africa, the Americas, and Europe. Then you have the descendants of Adam and Eve, created by a rival god on Satan's side who populated the Middle East and South Asia. And finally, the dragon descendants, who apparently came from two smart dinosaurs that survived extinction, became the people of East and Southeast Asia.
Phew, okay, so if that is our seriously tangled origin story, what's the point? Why are we even here? Well, the source material has a very clear, very spiritually focused answer for that.
The central idea is this: our life here on Earth, it's not the final destination. Think of it more like a temporary transit station. We're part animal, part divine spirit, and every single choice we make steers our soul's direction. Either we move up to a higher spiritual place, or we slide back down into a lower form of life. And while we're here in this transit station, we have three main jobs to do. First, to live in a way that brings joy to the greatest creator. Second, our collective spiritual struggles actually help keep that cosmic balance between good and evil. And third, our most hands-on job, to be good stewards of the earth to make it beautiful and build a harmonious world. In the end, this whole mind-bending cosmology really boils down to this one powerful idea. Our time here is short, but our choices echo forever. Life is our chance to decide where our soul goes next. It's a heavy thought, and it leaves us with one last question to chew on. If this life is just a transit station, what's your destination?